Welcome everyone to the deep dive. This is where we take all that complex information out there and really boil it down, giving you the insights you need.
Cutting through the noise.
Exactly. Today, we're diving deep into some really fascinating horological innovation. We're looking at a brand new piece for 2025, the Ulysse Nardin Freak X Crystallium.
Mm-hmm.
We've gathered quite a bit of material articles, tech specs, you name it, that really show how Ulysse Nardin keeps pushing things forward, mixing science, art, mechanics. It's quite something.
It really is.
So our mission today,
Yeah.
uncover what makes this watch tick, literally. What's so special about the materials, the movement, and maybe what it signals for high-end watches going forward. If you're into how tradition meets wild innovation, you'll want to stick around.
Yeah, and I think it's important to say this isn't just, another watch release. What we're seeing here is almost a philosophy, a different way of thinking about design and materials in a field that's, let's face it, pretty traditional.
Right. Very traditional.
Ulysse Nardin just keeps asking, what else can a watch be?
Mm-hmm.
It's not just about telling time. It's art. It's science.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of an experience on the wrist.
Okay, so let's unpack that. To really get the Freak X Crystallium, we need to talk about where it came from, its background.
Greek legacy, yeah.
Exactly. This isn't some random creation. It's the latest step in the whole Freak series. And man, when that first Freak appeared back in 2001, wow.
It was a shock to the system, wasn't it?
Totally.
Mm.
I mean, imagine. No dial, no hands in the usual sense, just this whole movement, turning, showing the time. That orbital carousel construction was revolutionary.
Mm-hmm.
And they were already using silicon way back then, which was pretty out there. It was never just a watch. It felt like a statement, a platform for their craziest ideas.
Absolutely. And if you look at the big picture, the Freak line is Ulysse Nardin's statement. It's them saying, we're going to push the limits, both technically and, aesthetically.
Yeah.
Think about the guts it took to launch something that different. But they did it. And the Freak's taken all sorts of forms since then. Some super complex mechanically, others more artistic and playful.
Right.
It's like they keep ripping up the rule book, challenging collectors to think differently about what a watch even is.
And then fast forward to 2019, and we get the Freak X. Maybe a bit of a shift. It made the whole Freak concept maybe a little more streamlined, a bit more accessible, perhaps.
Relatively speaking, yeah.
And here's a fun fact I dug up from the sources. The Freak X was actually the first one in the whole series to have a crown for setting the time.
Mm-hmm. Which sounds normal, but wasn't for the Freak.
Exactly. Before that, you often had to turn the whole bezel. Shows you how experimental the earlier ones were. But even with a crown, the Freak X still felt disruptive, still had that soul.
It did.
But when you say more accessible, what does that really mean in this context? Who was it for? Was there a risk in broadening the appeal?
That's a really good point. I mean, accessible is relative here.
Yeah.
Right? We're still deep in luxury territory.
Oh, yeah. But by maybe simplifying the setup slightly, adding that crown for usability, sometimes using tougher materials, the Freak X opened the door a bit wider.
Okay.
It kept that avant-garde edge, but was maybe less daunting for someone new to the freak world or someone who wanted that innovation, but in a watch they could wear more easily day to day.
Got it. So broadening the base a little?
Yeah, bringing more people into their most out there line without, watering it down. It seemed to work, creating new fans for the freak concept.
Makes sense. And we've seen the Freak X use some amazing materials already, aventurine, enamel, silicon marquetry, even those wild razzle-dazzle looks.
Always a Candace.
And now, Crystallium, which feels like a totally new direction, blending science and art. Okay, this is where it gets really fascinating based on what we've read. The Freak X Crystallium.
Right.
It's all about merging those wild mechanics with new materials.
Right.
The sources kept saying science becomes decoration. And the kicker, every piece is unique. That's not just talk, is it? It's built in. What does that mean for someone buying a luxury piece like this? It means everything in today's world, I think. It's a fundamental shift. So let's talk about this Crystallium hour disc. It's made from ruthenium.
Okay, ruthenium. That's pretty exotic.
Oh, yeah. It's one of the rarest platinum group metals. Super hard, very resistant. But the magic isn't just the metal, it's how they make the disc.
How so?
It's this complex vapor deposition crystallization process. Takes several days in a lab. The analogy they use, which I think is quite good, is like frost forming on glass.
Ah, okay.
But here, it's ruthenium vapor crystallizing into these incredible fractal-like patterns. And here's the absolute key. Those patterns are impossible to reproduce identically.
Wow. Wow.
Because even in a controlled lab, tiny microscopic variations, temperature shifts, how atoms settle mean the crystals grow slightly differently every single time. So each disc is genuinely physically unique.
So it's not just limited edition, it's literally one of a kind.
Exactly. It's using a natural, albeit guided phenomenon to guarantee uniqueness. It
Mm.
kind of redefines bespoke, doesn't it? Moving beyond just hand finishing to harnessing nature's own
It's
variations.
mind-blowing, actually. So each disc is this unique piece of art, and
Right.
then they enhance it?
They do. They add a rose gold PVD treatment that's physical vapor deposition, a thin layer of gold, and then some hand-applied black shading.
Okay.
This combination really makes those fractal patterns pop. It adds depth, plays with the light, makes it look almost alive as you move your wrist, like a tiny shimmering universe in there.
Incredible. And how does it actually tell time? It's still the freak system, right?
Yes, the classic freak spectacle. So that
Uh-huh.
unique Crystallium disc, it rotates once every 12 hours. That's your hour indicator,
The whole disc moves.
the whole disc.
Yeah.
And then above it, you have the bridge that holds the oscillator,
Mm,
the balance wheel, the escapement, the beating heart.
right.
That whole structure rotates once every hour. And that acts as the minute hand. So no traditional hands. The movement is the display. It's kinetic sculpture.
It really forces you to look differently at how time is shown.
Absolutely. It's horological theater.
Okay, let's talk about the rest of the watch, the frame for the spectacle. The case is 43 millimeters, right? And it's all black.
That's right. The whole case bezel, middle case back, is crafted from black DLC-coated titanium.
DLC, diamond-like carbon.
Exactly. Super tough, very scratch resistant. It gives it this dark, almost stealthy look.
Mhm.
Really makes that bright, complex dial stand out. It's like an architectural frame.
Nice contrast. And practical stuff. Crystal, water resistance.
Sapphire crystal, naturally. Very clear, very hard. And 50 meters of water resistance. So, it's robust enough for daily life, not just a safe queen. It's designed to be worn.
Good to know. Now, the engine inside, the movement.
Ah, yes, the Caliber UN-230. It's an in-house automatic movement. Pretty complex 214 components.
Okay.
Performance, solid specs. Beats at 21,600 vibrations per hour. That's 3 hertz. Pretty standard for good accuracy.
Mm.
And a really decent 72-hour power reserve.
3 days. That's
Yeah.
useful.
Very useful. You can set it down Friday, pick it up Monday, it's still running. But the really cutting-edge stuff is inside the movement, the materials they use.
You mentioned silicon earlier.
Yes, extensively. Silicon balance wheel, silicon escapement components, silicon hairspring, and this isn't outsourced. It's developed at their own lab, Sigatech.
Okay, hold on. For listeners maybe not deep into watch tech, why is silicon such a big deal in those parts? What's the advantage?
Great question. It's huge. Silicon is super lightweight, so less energy needed, potentially better accuracy. It's totally anti-magnetic. A massive plus with all their phones and laptops around.
Right, magnetism is a killer for mechanical watches.
A big one. And maybe the most important thing. Silicon parts often don't need lubrication like traditional metal ones. That means better long-term stability, less friction, less wear.
So improved precision and reliability over time.
Exactly. And the fact that Ulysse Nardin does this in-house with Sigatech
Yeah.
shows they're serious about pushing the engineering boundaries too, not just the aesthetics. It's innovation from the core outwards.
That really adds another layer to it. It's not just a pretty face.
Okay, and straps. Options.
Yep, comes standard on a black rubber strap with this cool ballistic texture. And it has rose gold stitching that picks up the PVD on the dial. Looks sporty, but still refined.
Mm-hmm.
But there's also an option for a black alligator strap, same rose gold stitching if you want something a bit more classic or dressy. Both use a folding clasp made of DLC titanium and ceramic, nice and secure.
Okay, so you've got this incredible mix of materials, mechanics, art, leads us to exclusivity, right?
Absolutely. This isn't a mass market piece by any stretch. It's a limited edition. Only 50 pieces are being made worldwide.
50. That's very few.
Extremely few. And the price reflects that, of course. We're looking at CHF 40,000, that's Swiss francs, or EUR 42,700, GBP 37,130, including tax.
Wow. Okay, so 50 pieces, that price point. What's the message there? Who are they aiming for with this deep dive into material science, and what does it mean for collectors? Well, the message is clearly about ultimate exclusivity,
Yeah.
genuine innovation, and catering to collectors who value something truly unique, something beyond the ordinary.
People looking for that next level thing.
Exactly. People who appreciate the science and the art as much as the name. For collectability. A run of 50, especially for a freak with such a unique story like the Crystallium dial, It's almost guaranteed to be highly sought after.
Instant collector's item potential.
Very likely. The secondary market could be strong simply because demand will probably massively outstrip that tiny supply.
Hmm.
It positions Ulysse Nardin right at the cutting edge, making things for people who really get it, who want that intrinsic value and guaranteed uniqueness.
So wrapping this up, the Ulysse Nardin Freak X Crystallium, it's clearly way more than just a watch.
Oh, absolutely.
It's this blend. Art, material science, boundary-pushing mechanics. It really feels like a statement piece for Ulysse Nardin, showing their relentless drive to innovate. That orbital display, the unique Crystallium, it's stunning. It makes you stop and think about what a luxury watch can even be. Is it craft? Is it tech? Is it natural wonder? Here, it seems to be all three.
And maybe here's a final thought for you, the listener, to chew on. This watch uses a natural process crystallization to make every single piece unique with these fractal patterns.
Right, the core idea.
So in our world, which is increasingly about mass production, identical items, efficiency, what does it really mean when a top-tier luxury item deliberately uses an uncontrollable natural phenomenon to guarantee individuality?
That's a great question.
How does that change how we think about bespoke or unique? Is it just about hand skills anymore? Or can it be about cleverly harnessing nature? And could other luxury fields learn from this, finding true differentiation beyond just, putting your initials on something?
Using nature itself as the ultimate customizer.
Something like that. A piece of genuine, irreproducible natural art on your wrist.
Yeah.
Telling time, yes, but also telling a much bigger story about innovation and uniqueness. Something to think about.